70, 80% of the AI projects that they say are going to fail, and they're talking millions and I think even hundreds of millions, maybe billions of dollars on these AI projects. And I don't know how much of it's wasted because I think we'll learn, people will learn from it. But like anything else, if you don't go in it intending to learn and intending to make sure that that you've got those guardrails, those metrics, you're not going to be able to measure it when you get to the other side, and you're not going to know what success is. You're not going to know what done is.
Hey everybody, I'm Dave, and I'm really excited to have Rob join us today, and he's going to help us with better ways of working. Rob, so great to connect with you after so long a time. Why don't you tell the folks about yourself and what you do?
I am Rob Broadhead. I'm the founder of RB Consulting, also a founder of Developreneur. But generally speaking, RB Consulting is my day job, I guess you would say. I work as a fractional CIO, software AI advisor. I help companies figure out what they're going to do before they do it. So essentially, before they jump into that big project, help them to make sure that they're actually taking the right steps to get into it, and then figure out why things are falling apart when execution starts to slow down, systems start to fall apart, flags start coming up, and things like that. So that's I've been doing this for a couple of decades now, for about 30 years. I started in software. I've worked through lots and lots of companies and industries over the years, startups up to Fortune 500 companies. I keep thinking I've seen it all, and yet sometimes, like on a regular basis, there's something new that pops up. It's like, oh, that's a different way to do that.
Yeah, so AI, right? That's really hot right now, and I've really been enjoying your posts on LinkedIn. So tell us, what are the challenges, or what are you seeing when you talk to clients about AI?
Well, the biggest challenge about AI is that it is a tool. I think people forget because there's so much sparkly. I often, sort of joke about it. It's like when you walk down a product aisle in a grocery store and everything like, makes your teeth whiter, or it's new and improved, or now with that lemony fresh scent. To me, I feel like that's what AI is. We actually did a season in our podcast that we just took a prior season and then we just said with AI for every single episode and did it again. It was a, fun experiment. But I think that's the problem, is it's really too often at an experimental stage, and it's really very much the cart way in front of the horse. Is what happens is that AI does not fix things, it exacerbates them. It just makes them happen faster. It amplifies them, essentially. So if you've got a problem, AI is not probably going to fix it, especially if you don't know how to define the problem properly. It's just going to make it bigger. It's just going to make it louder, or it's going to make it hurt more. So AI is really, I love it. I am definitely not AI. I use it all the time. We have built our own RB Consulting operating system essentially out of AI, where we're constantly automating and finding ways to just leverage the data that we have, make better use of it. And then some of it too is just making sure for ourselves that we clean up our processes, and it's drinking the same Kool-Aid that we offer to all of our customers when we say, hey, these are the things you need to do to get your house in order so you can really start leveraging automation and then AI. And we're doing the same thing, living through the same problems. And so that's where it typically starts. It starts with like, let's talk about what you really want to do. Let's push AI and your tools and all the cool things that are out there. Set aside, what is your problem and what does it look like on the other side when you solve that problem?
Yeah, I think that's really important, is what you just said. Like, what is the problem? So I think, and I see this a lot, where folks want to start with the solution, right? But what is the outcome, not just the output? What is the solution, or what is the problem you're trying to solve? Do you help clients understand really what is the root problem to solve?
Very much so. And a lot of times it's really just getting them to have that conversation, because once you have that conversation, things start clicking, because these are people that know what they're supposed to do. They know how they work and what their processes are somewhat, but they're not necessarily totally clear on it. And so it's like tying your shoe. If you say, can you explain to somebody how do you tie your shoe? It's easier said than done, because you've got information that's in your head that you've got to get out of your head and on paper. And so that's a lot of times what that is. It's having that conversation. It's making sure that they can walk through their processes, and where they have the I don't knows, or the, yeah, that's the way we've always done it, then we can actually dig a little bit deeper to make sure that we get that, get that ironed out before we actually start trying to apply a tool or an automation to it.
Yeah, because I've done some automation in the past, and if you don't have the steps down, if you haven't done it manually, what are you automating, right? You can't go from zero to hero with just nothing. Like, you've got to at least understand and done it manually what the steps are. How does AI accelerate then the automation concept, or is AI just souped up automation?
Really, it is. I talked with another guy that he often uses the phrase and I'll steal it from him. As he said, he reverses and calls it intelligence automation instead of artificial intelligence, and that's really sort of what it. I mean, it's one of the things is we put intelligence, artificial intelligence, so people are like, oh, it's smart. Well, really, no, I think it's a misnomer. It really is automation. It is pattern recognition at its most basic. It's sitting there and saying, okay, I can actually look over a large lake of data, find the trends, and then go do something that any of us could do. It's just it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot, we'd be taking a lot of notes, and it's slower for us to do it. But once you give it that direction, then it can go. The problem is when we do it, we will adjust along the way. And we do this, I think, all the time as we're going through processes. We have something that we know how to do it. But if there's a glitch, if there's a hiccup, we just adjust and move on. AI is not going to be that intelligent. Usually it's not going to understand that. It's just going to say, okay, I'm going to keep going. And the next thing it's gone off to the races. It's just like if you're building something physical, like if you think of like a clay pot that's spinning there, if you were to just like hold your hands at one spot and you get it just a little bit off, the whole thing's going to end up collapsing because as it's spinning around, it's going to get off, and then the next thing you're cutting through it. Or building a metal piece is if you get it off by a millimeter, the next thing you've got gouges in it. AI is really no difference. It's like you're doing a process, and if it's imperfect, then that imperfection can cause problems if you haven't essentially told, for lack of a better term, AI how to do it right.
So there, you help clients then not only help with getting started with AI, but then how to maintain it over time, right? To address these issues and help AI get better.
Yeah, because it's really not AI getting better. It's them getting better at it and using it. It is I think of it a lot of times like a snowball effect. Is because you get in there, and this is what automation in general does for you. Is you have a process that is time consuming and painful, and you find a way. You spend the time, you invest in it, and now you've got it working smoothly, and you find ways to automate it, or you remove steps, or you simplify it, and then the next thing you know, it's like, okay, all that time, I don't have to worry about that anymore. So I can take that time and I can apply it to something else. And so you apply it to the next process and the next process. And the next thing you know, you've amplified. And it is literally where the the marketing stuff you see of people saying that I used AI to 10x my company or 20x my company or some x my company is not actually, I found it's not completely unreal. That there's a lot of things we do, which probably speaks to problems we have in our business itself, that there's these things we do that we are wasting a lot of time on it. And when we get these things off our plate, suddenly we're free to get a lot more done. So it's funny because I don't think it's AI does it. I think it's us realizing the inefficiencies that we have and correcting those and actually leveraging automation when we can take it. And so for my customers, that's what it is we start and get them going, but we make sure that there are the metrics and the feedback loops and the kinds of things that you move. So you're not just a one and done. You're doing it and then you're taking a look at it. Sometimes you start off slow. You've got guardrails around it to make sure that this is a process you really want to let it run. And then as you get more comfortable with it, then you can let it go and then you move on to the next piece.
Great. Let's talk a little bit about change management, that piece. How do you lead organizations through adopting and then living with AI? Because I imagine you probably see a range of people really scared about it and some people super excited. So how does that come into what you're seeing these days?
It also is a slow burn, I guess, sort of a growth kind of thing. Is that if you jump into AI, it's scary. It's because you don't really know what you're doing. If you take it a more intentional, slow approach, then what you do is you start with the process. You say, this is what we're doing. And now you're really comfortable with that. This is how we do it. I can tell anybody I want how to do it. I can explain it to somebody else. I can pass it off to somebody else. Now that I have that comfort with it, I can start looking at it and simplify it. I can start automating it. I can see that, oh, in these 10 steps, these 5 are perfect for something that's some software or script or something like that to do. And then these are still manual, but that's okay. And then you start shrinking the time on it. And then by the time you get to AI, which is really it's really sort of that next step. If I'm looking at 10 steps in the process and I see 5 of them that I could, I'll say I can write a software to do that. Well, what AI says is I can say, AI, go write the software to do that. Now, you have to guide it and things like that. Sometimes it is amazing what it can do sometimes within like the first or second draft, but it swings back to how detailed did you describe your problem in the first place? If you're very detailed and it's a very direct kind of thing to solve, AI will kick its butt every time. If it's not, if it's something that's very mushy in the middle and there's a lot of human intervention generally, and a lot of people are making like sales kinds of things where they're making these calls on how am I reading this, what this person is saying and what they're doing and how am I adjusting to all of their mannerisms, those kinds of things. AI is not going to get you there. And so that's the stuff that's scary. It's like, let's just make sure that we put it in its proper box, that we're going to start diving into AI. The stuff that's scary, sometimes there's a reason for that, because it's like, that's not something you want AI to touch. But the stuff that's not, it's where we say, okay, well, let's take it in baby steps so that we're all sure before we, put the pedal to the metal and just push the gas on this thing, that we are sure that we're going off in the right direction.
So, what about the technology? For example, I personally, like, I started with ChatGPT. Now I switched over to Gemini, and it seems like maybe I should be looking at Claude. It just seems like every few months, like there's one of these vendors comes out with a huge enhancement that everybody's raving about. What are you seeing, and what are you recommending to clients these days?
I 100% see the same thing. I think of it like harken it back to the early days of the internet and the browser wars, where it was like Internet Explorer does this and Mozilla does that and Firefox does that, and I don't remember all the other was it Netscape and all those. It's the same thing. Is that you're seeing these leaps, and they're actually specific. So there's sort of like families of problems that get solved in different ways. And it seems like on a regular basis, there'll be one, AI engine that does it better than another, does a certain kind of problem. Like maybe it writes prose better than the other ones do, but maybe there's another one that writes, that does like analytical type stuff, more like number crunching things. And it's not really it's trend spotting and things like that it'll do. And so, and I've, for lack of a term, I guess, been burned by this a little bit as well, where I got very comfortable with one and then was like, oh, I really want to use this other, but then I sort of had to shift context and things like that, because you're learning, your system is learning as you go. And the more that you feed it, the more that it's got that context. And so really what we push is making sure that you own the context, that instead of it being specific to an engine, that you've got a local library, eventually your local LLM maybe, or at least your local library of data, that you're using that for your context. And then you're using that to plug in and out of the different engines, so that if you want to use, like I use this on a regular basis. I've got one that's a very local one that does, it's amazing how fast it does. And I use it for private information, stuff like that. I just really don't want anybody else to, I don't want to have Google playing around with that data, or it's something that's, if I'm dealing with something that maybe have some, personal information or something like that I don't want to get off of my machine. I've got something that runs just fine. And I'll use that also to keep costs down, because it's just like, I can run it on my machine. If it takes a little longer, I don't care. But then if you want to do something bigger, then I can take that same data. If I need to, I can clean it up and send it for the context I need out to ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude. I use all the tools on a fairly regular basis, and I've seen people, it's almost religious wars now. People are like, oh, I love this or I love that. And funny enough though, they change like 3 weeks later. Like, I hate that. Like people are like, I love Claude. It does everything. And 3 weeks later, it's like, I am done with Claude. So it is fun watching it, but it is like everything else. Don't get stuck. If you get tied too tight to the tool, you're going to end up possibly regretting it. Now, maybe you're going to, hook yourself to the Amazon and it's going to go forever and you're fine, but you may hook yourself to like the 18,000 other companies that, fizzled and died at some point. So you want to make sure that you're holding on to this stuff as much as possible. And that's part of going into AI, is realizing there are security issues, there are privacy issues, there are intellectual property issues. So you want to make sure that you're not just throwing everything out to the chat bots, because the next thing you know, you're going to have all your information's out there somewhere, and somebody's going to, hackers get a hold of it, stuff like that, or all that stuff that was your secret sauce, it was your, the key to your company's survival is out there. And you don't want to be just like, any other security risk. You don't want to be that company that's on the front page because one of your employees, uploaded, your entire payroll system up into the cloud as part of using AI somewhere.
I've always wondered about that. You bring up another good point that, companies should be careful and they can run their local models, like you said, they can, in their internal systems and then be judicious about what employees are uploading to the cloud. What about now with agentic AI and having agents? Is that really increasing the risk by a multiple factor?
It is very much. That's an area that it does allow AI to do a little bit more than you want it to, and you just have to be that much more. And it's just like agentic stuff is really just automating AI to some extent. And
Okay.
there can be some interesting side effects if you don't think through it. I'll just give a quick anecdote. Is there somebody on one of the boards that I follow that's all these AI people, and a lot of them are developers and doing stuff for their companies. Well, this guy built something that said, I want to do like, I think it was like once a day, send me a report. And he was like, okay. And so it went out and it wrote, got its little agent and it's out there and it's just going to, once a day at midnight, it's going to send them the report. Well, behind the scenes, what was happening is it was actually burning a lot of resources because it was every minute waking up, figured out is at the end of the day, and it would go back to sleep. And so it was like the most brute force way to see is at the end of the day. It was literally like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And so suddenly he had this big bill based on the resources that had been used. He'd used, all the tokens and stuff like that and just burned through it. And it was over like 2 days. He didn't realize till he saw like, this burn rate was really high for what was going on. He's like, wait a minute, does that make any sense? And he had to, debug it, realize that, okay, this agent's doing something I don't want it to. So definitely, you want to make sure that you're like double, triple checking it, use dry runs and things like that to allow the agent to say, okay, this is what I think I'm going to do, but I'm not sure. And it's getting, honestly, AI, a lot of these tools, depending on the ones I'm using, the more popular ones, I think, are like your Geminis and stuff like that, the ones that are the big name companies behind it. It's funny because I'm starting to see some of that come out in the AI responses. For example, I was asking AI the other day, I said, hey, I want to build something to do some automated stuff on the stock market. I've got, I want to do a little bit of like automated checking. And it was amazing how many like caveats it had to it. It said, well, you really want to do this and you don't want to do this and don't automate this and double check this and don't ever do this live. And I don't even want to do this for you. I'm going to give you some stuff, but you're going to
Wow.
have to go build out these pieces specifically. So it really was like, it was all stuff that, I was thinking like, I just wanted to see what it was going to give me without running it. And it gave me a lot of heads up. And that is a nice thing I'm seeing with customers as well sometimes. They're like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, well, take what you're proposing and just ask AI about it. And don't ask it, how do I do it? But ask it, what am I not thinking? Ask it like, where can this go wrong? And it tends to be overly optimistic. I don't know if you've noticed like ChatGPT and Gemini is not as bad. ChatGPT is really bad about that's the greatest idea ever.
Yeah, that's a
It'll
little
give
over
you
the
every
top.
it's like, dude, my butt's sore from you kissing it so much. So just stop. It's like sometimes you want it to be like, give me a little attitude here. Come on. Like, don't just be all positive and sunshine and rosy. There's a little bit too much of that, but like you can reverse it a little bit and say like, what am I missing? What am I not thinking of? What question haven't I asked? And it's at least helping us out a little bit. But it's like, don't let it go wild. Don't trust it. It's like playing with snakes or bears or
Yeah.
any other wild animal. It's like, it may bite you. So you just got to
Leave
make
it to the
sure.
professionals. Right. Become
Exactly.
a professional. Uh, well, hey, this has been great. Before we wrap up here, is there anything else you want to share?
No, I think just from for those that are listening that are out there that are considering using AI, definitely take a step back. It's like, and I've been there where it's like, oh my gosh, this is your eyes open. You see that I can use this to do all of these things and get all this stuff off my plate and get all these things that I've been waiting for, my backlog cleaned up. For those who are developers, like I can get all my technical debt out of the way. It solves all these problems. It doesn't. I mean, it will help you get there faster, but you got to know where there is. You really need to sit down and take that deep breath. That's one of the things we do. We call it a technology reality check, even, and it's really just that's what you need to do is just check yourself a little bit. Is step back and say, what am I really wanting to do? What is my goal? What does this look like on the other end? Because if you don't, you're going to end up like, I think they keep moving the number around, but it's about 70-80% of the AI projects that they say are going to fail. And they're talking millions and I think even hundreds of millions, maybe billions of dollars on these AI projects. And I don't know how much of it's wasted because I think we'll learn, people will learn from it. But like anything else, if you don't go in it intending to learn and intending to make sure that that you've got those guardrails, those metrics, you're not going to be able to measure it when you get to the other side. And you're not going to know what success is. You're not going to know what done is.
Great. So, folks, I want to hear you in the comments. What do you think? Agree, disagree? What's your experience? Rob, how can folks get a hold of you and so where they can reach out and get your help?
Well, as you said, on LinkedIn, I'm there on a regular basis these days. There's a lot of good conversations going on there. You can reach me out. I'm Rob Broadhead, Broadhead, and there's not a ton out there. There's only but 6 of them are in IT, but you'll find me probably with RB Consulting. You can also, great way is go out to rb-sns.com is our website, and check us out there. I'm happy to, you can email me, rob at rb-sns.com. Happy to help anybody else who have any questions about any of this. Just we're trying to keep people from, on the front end doing stuff better, so they don't on the back end go, hey, we just blew all of this stuff and our company's falling apart, our systems are in a shambles. I would rather come in on the first part, and let's avoid that on the front end.
Thanks for your time today, Rob. And folks, thank you for listening and watching BetterWaysOfWorking.com. Until next time, take care. Bye bye.